but Tom Gert by the Sea, Siegert.
Yes.
Tom Siegert, pleasure to be with you.
Oh, it's good to be here. Beautiful setup.
Yes, and now tell me about yourself, Tom, because you're what I like to call a ridgy-dig Aussie bloke.
I am. Yeah, I guess not intentionally. It's not a character.
No,
It's,
of course not, but I'm saying it's just you're cut from that cloth. Essentially, you're the son my father wanted.
Okay.
And he got this flouncy boy, but that's okay. I want to know about your upbringing and sort of what brings you to comedy at this point.
Well, it's interesting that you make that observation because I guess the where I've grown up and where I hang and what I do, I don't feel like it because I spend most of my time at football clubs and hanging out with my mates who are probably exactly the same. And if anything, I'm probably they're a lot blokier than me, and they're a lot. That I'd pick them to change a tyre or put on a deck to a house before I'd pick me. So it's nice to hear that actually.
No,
Thank
honestly,
you very much.
I tell you what, as you enter this fancy world, we go, Tom, I've got some trouble with varnishing.
Yeah,
Can you sort me out over here, mate? I know you're good with the sander.
I'll have a crack. I had that reek of Lynx Africa as I walked in and just oil on my hands, which I didn't do anything. I just rub oil on my hands for the illusion, and
and there you go.
There you go.
Well, it's paying off a beauty.
Thank you.
But Tom, no. So growing up, whereabouts did you grow up, and was there much comedy in the household when you were growing up?
Not really. So I grew up in a very small country town. It wasn't even a town. Place called Allen's Flat, which was close to Yakandanda, which was close to Wodonga in Victoria. Moved to the bright lights of Wodonga when I was in grade 6, and there was no comedy scene, and obviously no internet or anything. So I didn't really know what comedy was. I loved to laugh, I loved to joke, but I didn't know it was anything that I just thought it was just a thing you did with your mates. And moved to Melbourne when I was about 23 after doing a bit of travelling around the world. And then I was on a date, first date, sitting out in front of the Espy in Melbourne, having a couple of beers. Beach was there, sun was out, beautiful day. And there was a girl going around handing out flyers for a comedy afternoon, a Sunday afternoon of comedy in the Gershwin room, back room of the Espy. We said, I don't know whether we're battling for conversation or whatever, but we said, let's give it a go. I didn't know, hand on heart, the age of 23, didn't know what stand-up comedy was. Hadn't seen it, just didn't know what it was. Looking back, Elliot Goblet used to do a little spot on a very old show, Simon Townsend's Wonderworld, or something like that. And so we used to laugh at that on TV, but I guess that was stand-up to an extent. But, so we went back to the Gershwin room, this girl, Michaela, and myself, and still to this day, I've never laughed so hard in my life. It was like a door had been opened, and I was like, what is this? Just a guy on stage. I saw Greg Fleet.
What a great first.
When he was in his absolute prime, and he was just, it was vintage Fleety, when you're running away because you've just killed a prostitute, and I was like, what's he saying? And I was just falling off my chair, and as we're leaving, this girl, and there wasn't a second date, that was it, and but she said, you'd like to do that, wouldn't you? And I said, yeah, I reckon I would. Like, that was unbelievable.
She thought you were looking at her at the time.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'd love to do comedy.
I fell in love that day, but it wasn't with her, unfortunately. So, and it was probably another 4 years until I got the testicles to do it. And I just used to always had a little notepad, used to write things down, and I eventually had a crack. It still amazes me, and I. No offence if you're one of those people, and most people seem to be one of those people, but it amazes me when you see someone doing their first gig and they've got 30 mates in the crowd. Like I was living with in a share house with 3 mates, and I was lying to them saying that I was seeing a girl when I wasn't, and I was secretly doing stand-up comedy on the side because it gave me an excuse to have a shower, chuck something half decent on, go out, and I'd come back, no questions asked, because I did not want anyone knowing I did it. Like I struggled. I felt the pressure so much. The last thing I needed was someone I knew in the crowd. And I told myself, first time I did it, I'll give myself 10 goes, and after one go, I was like, no, this is what I want to do. Yeah.
This is me. You were having an affair with comedy, essentially.
I was having an affair with comedy. Yeah.
Slipping away.
And the mates were like, when are we going to meet her? I was like, she's a wild girl. I don't think you're ready. She
wasn't in a good mood tonight, boys. Tonight wasn't. And they thought you were just never getting lucky. They're like, boy, she's not putting out. You're home at 9 every night. You just.
And I'd come home crying, and they were like, God, surely they're going to break up. She must treat him like shit.
You're like, boys.
Ditch her, Tom. Ditch her. She's horrible to you.
I don't know why. It's just not working out.
No. I'll give her one more chance. Chance. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I resonate deeply with what you're saying when you see these early days, people getting up. And I understand psychologically that they want some support and love in the room, but it can lead to some horror shows. Or on the flip side, it can give a real false sense of confidence.
Without a doubt. But again, as we were talking about being blokey, and I don't know whether my mates are different to other people's mates, but people go, oh, isn't it good to have this? Wouldn't it be good to have the support? I was like, fuck me, you got different mates there. My mates would sneak over and pull the power cord out of the microphone, or hurl an egg at me or something. Like, love each other, but pretty quick to try and step on someone's dreams while we're at it. So, gave it a crack, and fell in love.
Beautiful. So you 10 gigs. You gave yourself 10 gigs. You're sneaking away. You're doing these in silence. When is the first time that Tom tells people he's doing stand-up comedy and invites someone he knows to watch a show?
I reckon it was the Elephant and the Wheelbarrow in St Kilda used to have regular gigs, and it got to the stage where most gigs were going okay. Like I was just doing 5-minute spots still, but I know I just felt comfortable, invited people along, and I definitely wanted control, so I invited them to one that was dead certain it was going to go well, and then didn't tell them about another one for probably 5-10 years. Like my wife even comes, she will attend one show a year if I do a festival show. If that, I'm not one to tell people to come along. 400 people in the crowd at the Comics Lounge. I barely raise a heartbeat. If I find out I got 2 mates in the room, I just can't stop thinking about it. So, strangers. Way rather perform to strangers.
Yeah, it's always there's always some trappings with having some friends or people that you love in an audience. Like you said, psychologically it plays a role. I had a terrible trend where people that I knew would sit at the front of my shows.
Oh, horrible.
Where I'm trying to, and then they're like, you can use me to crowd work. I'm like, I definitely can't. That's just awful and contrived and weird. Like, sit at the back and slip out in the dark. I don't care. But people can really step on the toes if they're coming to the shows that you know. But you start the gigs, you get the 10 in, you're getting people in, you're getting the bug. What year was this in, Tom? And sort of where are we?
Well, I reckon I've been doing it for exactly 20 years.
Wow. Okay.
And the career was, it's plodding along. I feel like most of my gigs are going well, but I'm a white Aussie bloke telling dick jokes. I'm not exactly reinventing the wheel or curing cancer or anything like that. It's pretty basic sort of shit. I'm doing shows. It's going well, and then so 7 years ago to within a couple of weeks, because I actually saw the old memory come up on Facebook. I'm one of the few, not a heap of stand-up comedians into their local footy, Aussie rules. Some of them follow the AFL. There aren't many that really played local footy. There's Evan Hocking and the Nelson twins. Hughesy played a bit of local footy, but it was my life. Like, I was captain of my local footy team for 11 years. I played from the day I was 8 till if I don't have kids, I'd still be playing. I've retired about 15 times. I retired at the age of probably 41 and kept playing the next year. Like, I just love my local footy. So I always had an idea of combining local footy and stand-up comedy. I hadn't seen it done before, so I thought what I'll do is I'll write a 1-hour show for the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and I'll just call it the Suburban Footballer, and it'll just be about me just life growing up playing local footy. I'll talk about the shitty showers. I'll talk about, the creepy trainer. I'll talk about all this sort of stuff that it's going to... People outside local footy will think it's horrendous. People inside will love it. So I was pretty confident I could write a good show. I wasn't confident I could get anyone to see the show. So I came up with the idea, this is about a year before the show, to come up with a Facebook page called The Suburban Footballer. And that would hopefully... My goal was to get 5,000 followers, and they would all like a laugh. They would all like their local footy. And I'd just do little posts about local footy and this sort of thing, and then when the time came, I would advertise on that page, and hopefully those people would come and see my show. So
playing the long game, I love it.
Playing the long game. So I was sitting on about 1,500 followers,
Pretty
just
good.
plodding along, and I remember it clearly. So it was Easter Monday. So it was basically pretty much a year before the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. It was probably 11 months before the Perth Fringe, which is where I was going to be doing my first show. And I was on the roof, and I was cleaning the gutters on the roof, and I did a post saying, basically said, every year I do the pre-season, get as fit as I possibly can, because footy season starts the week after Easter. Every year I do pre-season, I get as fit as I possibly can, and then I go on a 2-day bender over Easter and completely fuck myself for the upcoming season. And I reckon every local footballer in the country was sitting on the couch at the moment I posted it. They'd just done a pre-season, they'd just been on a 2-day bender, and they were just thinking, I can't believe I've got to play footy in 5 days' time. And I've done a whole pre-season. I basically feel like shit because I've just been on a 2-day bender. And it was like, share, like, share. And my wife, I remember she kept yelling out, saying, Tom, you're up to 15,000 likes. I was like, followers. And I was like, Jesus. And then, Tom, you're up to 25,000 followers. Jesus. And I just came down, and this one post just went crazy. And that, obviously, it's like COVID. The more people that have got it, the more people
super spreading it.
Yeah, so it was like a super spreader event, and yeah, by the time I got to the time to advertise for the Perth Fringe, I had 70,000 followers on this page, and I was doing 5 shows over here in a little 80-seater. It sold out within 24 hours, and I was like, oh my God, this is... now I'm worried about the product, because now
I really got to dig deep on these dick jokes.
Yeah, is the product good enough? So I quickly jumped on the phone, rang 2 mates that are presidents of local footy clubs, and I said, guys, no charge, after training on a Thursday night, can I come down and do my show to your guys, just sitting around having a couple of beers on a Thursday night? And they said, yep. So I went down, did the show. Most of it worked, some didn't, cut that. Had a beer with the guys afterwards. What do you think of this? And they were great. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. It's a bit, throwing someone under the bus and yeah, within my very first show at the Perth Fringe, so I'm backstage, walk out, the front 2 rows are West Coast Eagles. So somehow, and I know now it was Luke Shuey, who was a big premiership player for West Coast. He saw it, thought it was funny, shared it, and brought all the boys down. Yeah, so it's now on about 90,000 followers.
And you're still doing it today? You're still...
So that's what changed everything, because now, like, I'm completely booked out pretty much every Friday, Saturday, Sunday till September, just off the back of that page. So I went from that, changed me from waiting for someone to call to now I go to a club, and there's only so much you can charge a footy club for a gig, because it's an event that's meant to make money. It's a fundraising event. You can't charge them 10 grand, great show. If the club loses 9 grand, it's a shit night for the club. So they've got to make money. So I now, that amount for a comedy night, which was normally shared amongst 3, I can now do it myself, because I get up there and do 45 to 50 minutes of myself doing straight stand-up, break, where I do fundraising for the club, and then I do 45 minutes as the Suburban Footballer. And that's and that's every Saturday night of the year, pretty much. So
so
it's great that I also got complete control over how long I do on stage, and I'm lucky that I get almost as much stage time as I want. So that little, and that's why it's the best example of to someone, getting up and starting. There's no rules. We're in
just Aussie rules.
Hey,
come on. Now.
So if you're a plumber, there's only so many block dunnies, but if you're a comedian, there's endless. I could bail 5 people up on the street and so have a chat with them and say, look, do you want to try and raise some money for your school and blah, 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 and you can create a gig. And that's why this is the suburban football, this whole thing, it was nothing, and you create it and you go with it. And for it might not be football, it might be, I don't know, it might be being a dad, or it might be a bloody, I don't know what it is, but just got to find your little thing and you can create it.
I think it's a beautiful example, and I think it's, you sell yourself short by sort of saying, I'm just a white, straight Aussie bloke telling dick jokes, not reinventing the wheel, because what you've sort of tapped into is sort of this authenticity. And that's the beauty of comedy, obviously, that there's a comedian for everyone. There's connection out there with every sort of experience in Western life, in all different cultures, and you tapped in and doubled down onto who you really are, and it resonated. And I think it's a great feeling. I mean, how did it feel for you, sort of just having, humble goals initially, just wanting to maybe sell this show out eventually, to tapping into this thing with 90,000 followers now? You've got a career from this thing, and it's all people resonating with your lived experience. So how does that sort of feel?
It's pretty, like when the little memory came up on Facebook the other day, if you had told me it was 7 years, I just wouldn't have believed you. Like, my intention was Perth Fringe, Melbourne Comedy Festival, move on to the next thing. But the Melbourne Comedy Festival sold out. I put on extra shows, and I'd look into the crowd, and there'd be AFL coaches, players, and I was like, oh, this is something. And people were coming up to me after the show saying, oh, mate, we've got to get you down to the footy club. And I was like, oh, yeah, I could sell this show to footy clubs at a reasonable price that they still make good money off it. And so I don't do the show anymore. The show was an hour, and it was like going to a movie. And at a festival, comedy festival, you sit down, and it's almost like going to a movie. You enjoy, but if I'm going into a footy club, I'm dealing with a guy that's been on the piss since 11 a.m. and there's hecklers. So I couldn't ask someone to sit down and watch the story. So I had to mix a lot of stuff around. I removed the storyline, and it's just bang bang. It's jokes. It's the footy. It's all the punchlines without the story, and it evolves. Like, I do this whole thing. I've got my nickname Team of the Century, and it's just the best nicknames I've ever heard. And it never doesn't go well. Like, I could do it tonight in front of non-football people, and it would still go well. Everyone loves a good nickname, and every Saturday night, someone will come and go, oh, mate, I heard, I got a mate with bloody da-da-da, and we called him this. I was like, brilliant. He's in the team. He's in the team. Yeah. So, and all these stories, and that's great. And I love it. And I just love hanging around footy clubs and talking shit about footy. I've wondered how long it was going to last, like how long it will last, but it's showing no signs of stopping so far. So.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think, like I said, when you tap into some authentic, and you're clearly passionate about football, it's your life. You love it, and you got a deep knowledge of it, and people can feel that coming from you. So I don't think, as long as footy is popular, which in Australia
it's
we've probably got a little while ahead of us.
Yeah.
It's great, and I think it's a beautiful example for people out there who are trying to figure it out. Because I suppose we're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to figure out what is our voice, what is unique about us, what do we have to offer people. And it might be rotten funny. It might be whatever you're the most interested in life, and try and tap into that.
And that's where it's a bit tougher, I think, unfortunately, in Australia, because there's just not as many people. Like, in America, you could have 1% think that just love you.
That's
and
3 million people.
You're a squillionaire. You've got a massive following. You're doing, say here, there's just not as many people. So that's the unfortunate thing, and that's a bummer about this thing, is that it's very Aussie, and it's also not even very Aussie. It's not Queensland. It's not really. It's very WA, South Australia, Vic. Because the rest are rugby states. So, I mean, I would love to. I mean, if it was global and I could travel the world with it, I mean, it'd be heaven. But my joke, I've gone through my jokes because I've thought about doing it in the States. Aussie rules is having a real spike in the States at the moment, and I thought, but they're still Americans, so they're not understanding
so you got to bridge the gap a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm just going through the jokes. Can't. Wouldn't work. Can't do that. Can't, because it's just little word play. Every nickname's a little play on words. And
well, I mean, the way you got to this thing was there was no tactical thought.
No.
So you never know what's going to happen down the line. I mean, you're enjoying it fully now, and perhaps something else comes along that sort of transitions you into a new space, and you go from there. I suppose you just got to sort of surrender to the flow of things and see where it goes.
So I've just started to think about the next move. It's like I guess if you look at it like a business, if you're a plumber, if you work by yourself, there's only so many dunnies you can fix in a day.
Yes.
But that's why I use the example of Bogan Bingo, because they've virtually franchised it, and they, the Bogan Bingo guys.
It's not the Chase the Ace sort of thing. It's an actual brand.
Bogan Bingo. Bogan Bingo.
Okay,
and so there would probably be 20, 25 Bogan Bingos going on in one night. Used to be two blokes that would go to a footy club, cricket club, work party, and they would run this bingo night where it's all about being a bogan. And it got so big that they trained a couple of guys up, and now they train those guys up. And, they might charge $2,000. They take 800. The guy takes, and they pay someone 800 bucks to do it. So you're making it. So I thought about that's sort of the next move, I guess. So I couldn't train someone to do the suburban footballer, but I love this idea of a trivia nights are quite big, and so I'm trying to come up with some sort of fun footy related trivia sort of thing, because I used to think trivia nights were the most. I was like, I couldn't think of anything worse than going to trivia night. and I went to one night, and it was a crack up. It was a great night. And I was like, this is actually a really fun night.
Tom, you have a 100% hit rate for stumbling into casual activities and being blown away. You're like, stand-up comedy, what's this? You've changed my life. Trivia night, this is my new path.
I'm losing a bit of cred when I'm saying trivia nights are mind-blowing. So.
No, I think it's great, man. And also, I want to just quickly sort of tap into goals a little bit, because you have this infatuation with stand-up comedy. You're going through it, you're just enjoying it. Then you merge the worlds with football, and you're finding all this success and enjoying that. And now you're back in a point where you're sort of thinking about you want to transition and see what's next. I want to just dive into, why do you think that is? I mean, I suppose it's a bit of the human condition, but whenever you've got a great thing going, and I suppose we're never satisfied and we're always wanting the next thing. I mean, I know you're in works to sort of see where you go next, but what is the long-term goal for you?
It's funny. It has all changed, I think, and it's hard to explain unless you're from Melbourne how fucked COVID was, and how much, we didn't leave our street for months, and it was, comedy was dead, and it was just such a life-changing time. That plus, I've got 3 sons, and one of them has he's 6 and has had 3 open heart surgeries, and it was like all that was sort of, I don't know. I used to have it in your head, and because comedy's, everyone gets on well, but without, but there's a lot of jealousy, and there's no rhyme or reason often who gets what, and that's perhaps a great thing about footy. The best player is always going to win the Brownlow, and if you're not good enough, the coach is going to drop you. And so the AFL is pretty much, there might be the odd exception, it's the best guys. I've seen some very average comedians get some massive breaks. I've seen some brilliant comedians struggle to pay the rent. And I used to compare myself, and I don't know whether it was the COVID, having kids, having a sick kid for a while was, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like it was a real, I don't know when it happened, but almost a moment of clarity where I'm just happy for people. So as far as the goals, I don't strive to, like I want to make money,
yes.
and it sounds
of course you've got a sick kid if you provide for the family,
and he's okay. He just has issue with his heart and he has surgeries, but day to day he's fine, and you want to earn money from it. It's you want to get every gig you do, you want to do well, and you want to make money. I don't long to fill theatres.
The adoration of millions of strangers.
It doesn't worry anymore. It'd be great, and if what you're doing can create that, you may as well do everything in your power to make it happen. Like, and I'll give an example. I've got no idea about social media. I got very lucky with that Suburban footballer thing. It was basic Facebook. I could type in things, and that's all there was. And now it's next level with TikTok and Instagram, and I don't know what I'm doing. I think I can come up with decent content. I don't even know how to post the shit. So I've just, and it's starting on Thursday, I'm going to hire a guy to do that. I've found a guy. Right. I've been looking for a while, and that's just, so you may as well make every effort to what you're producing to get it out there.
Yeah, of course.
But as far as stressing about things, still give 100%, but don't stress if that 100%'s not,
this crazy idea in your head.
Yeah. Just like always give 100%, and you want that to go as well as possible, but don't stress if it's not filling a theatre like someone else, because it's I'm not going to name names, but I know comedians that are where I would consider is absolute success, and I don't know if they're that happy.
You wouldn't, and you wouldn't want to have a beer with them.
I just don't think that they're definitely not content.
Yes,
because that they're looking at the next thing.
No, I think it's a beautiful space you're in. I think it's a beautiful space.
And it's taken me a long time, but I'm really I think I'm really quite content. And don't worry, you'll slip up every now and again. Like see someone like that's just got the big role on TV or something, and you'll see them stink it up at the Comics Lounge or something, and you'll just be like wow, but and then you're like, sure. Well, that's.
And again, I'm sorry about that set, Tom. I didn't mean to. I was trying my best up there. But
it was a shit crowd. It was a shit crowd. So I don't know. So I think I've sort of, but I'm 46. So you've got to.
Takes time as well.
Yeah, you've got to. Yeah, maybe the brain wasn't mature enough.
It's fully developed now.
I don't know. It's as developed as it will be. I don't know if it's fully developed.
No, that's great, mate. Well, listen, you've also got a show coming up with your mate Evan Hocking, another comic. It's a great title for it. I might butcher, but I think it was said the title is "We Didn't Write Enough Jokes for Our Own Solo Show." Is that sort of in the ballpark?
Don't read into the title too much, but what it's basically, we didn't write enough material to do our own shows, so and then we decided to split a show. So it's a bit
genius,
of a subliminal message in there.
Transparent. No, I love it. Where can people find you as well, Tom? If they want to see some stuff, if they want to reach out to you to book
if you're into your local footy, the Suburban Footballer page has about 90,000 followers. If you're not into your footy, the Tom Siegert comedy page has got about 9 followers. So
get on there. Let's get
please. I'm just trying to get on the Instagram and all that sort of shit, but it's a struggle.
We'll see how this new bloke does on the socials.
Yeah. Hopefully he's good at his job. So.
Well, listen, enjoy the gigs this weekend. Thank you for the chat, mate, and looking forward to what the future holds.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Cheers, Tommy.
Thank you.